Hello everyone. I hope I'm audible. Uh, the video clip that I'm developing now is having a purpose to support your previous learning as usual. And we already have three sessions on AIoT topics dealing with the unit number two. So today's session is focused on the supplementary learning that we left uh, unattended in the previous session, which includes some numerical, hands-on small numerical practices also. So in the last session, we dealt with what is the relevance of AIoT, what are the examples, and how the sensor mechanism works for the AIoT framework. So these all are the covered content, so I'm not repeating them. This is the list of various sensors that we use generally in civil engineering applications and how to make the sensors effective and reliable. For that, we understood these five components, like it should be the sensor should be reliable and the data transmission should be optimum. The sensors must be having long range of communication capacity. It should not consume excessive power. Uh, it should be scalable, and finally should be secured. So this is a list of the sensors according to their data format in which they are going to provide us the output. So all this we have seen earlier. We also discussed the architecture for the typical AIoT system, which includes four layers like sensors, edge, that means machines, the wireless communication, and cloud storage. So this is what exactly I demonstrated in the class. So this is just to refresh now where exactly we stopped in the last uh, class. That was how a sensor can detect the crack on the surface. So for that we need to little bit go into the detail of sensor mechanism, how they are made and what makes them record the data. And for that we understood these 5 points, like uh, the first concept is converting the physical disturbance or deformation into the electrical conversion. The signal implications amplification, that is also one of the major main stage of transforming the data from physical to electrical signals. Then the programming, or we can use the devices, those are helpful to reduce the disturbance or the errors in the data collected. So that is called noise filtering and signal conditioning. And then we can go along with the analog to digital conversion. And finally, if the temperature is a concern, there are devices that can control or that can manage the temperature compensation also. The same device I showed you into the classroom, I demonstrated. I gave you the samples of the sensors that actually we are using for two purposes in our laboratory. That is to record the strain in the concrete members and the strain into the steel bars also. So you already have in short some of the exposure, how the sensors looks like, and we also discussed these five terms, uh, particularly the strain itself. Strain we defined as a change in the length to the original length, which takes place in the physical uh, entity as a physical entity. And then, what are the other important terms associated to the strain gauges? Are like the electrical resistance of the sensor in its resting or unrestrained state, typically measured in the ohms as a unit of measurement, that is called base resistance. The delta R, that is change in the resistance whenever whenever the strain gauge gets disturbed. The difference between the original resistance and the new resistance caused by the physical stretching or compression of the sensors. So that sensation, I would say, the signal basically is now being transformed from physical to the digital, or I would say electrical signals. So that is a very important stage, and that is where we need to properly install our sensors to the surfaces. And there is a particular system how you can install, how correctly you should install the strain gauges on the surfaces. Then the gauge factor, which is again a kind of ratio that, or the coefficient, a sensitive coefficient that defines the ratio of relative change in electrical resistance to the mechanical strain. So the significance of gauge factor is higher the gauge factor means more sensitive is the sensor. So basically, if you check, it defines the sensitivity of the sensor, how sensitive the sensors are to receive the data. So I gave you the example in the class also, like our strain gauges that we are using in our daily evaluation of the members. They can record thousands of data of strain in a fraction of minute. So a large set of data are expected to be collected and transformed into your software also for the further processing. So gauge factor matters a lot, and you should be very very selective when you are using or going to use a particular strain gauge for a intended purpose. The base rule is maximum data collection should be targeted, right? So the gauge factor should be as high as possible for any selected strain gauge you are going to work with. Finally, the piezo resistive effect, that means how the material of the sensor interacts and transform physical changes into the analog system or electrical system. I also gave you the conventional example how the engineers used to measure the cracks or deformation. Ultimately, it can be defined as the strain, nothing else. So original length to the changed length, and there is a ratio of delta L by L. So this is a simple plastic device having some indentation of the markings on the, we can say, scale type of structure, which automatically gets expand when the surface of the, let's say, masonry units or the mortar units gets changed. So accordingly the change will be visible, but the thing is, you don't have any other mechanism to record all these changes unless you are witnessing it face to face. So you have to remain present, and there is no other mechanism. So that is very challenging for an engineer or the people working on a site. So that's why nowadays we are using the digital strain gauge sensors. So that's an example of piezoelectric sensor, and it consists of special type of material which divides the atoms or the inner molecules of the material itself. When you compress it, they keep rearranging the positive and negative charges, reflecting the changes received from the physical surface into the electrical signals. However, we are our point of interest is not how the exact material is working and which of the material, what are the properties, but at the same time this is to be understood by us that you should select correct type of the sensors for a specific task you are looking for. And that's why I'm giving you overall brief of this uh, let's say sensor mechanism, right? So an IoT system, the journey from the physical stretch to the digital data point involves a process called signal conditioning. So that is an important term for us. The raw change in the resistance is too subtle, that means it's too silent to be read directly by the most of the computers. So we need to amplify that. These are the very small changes and cannot be identified directly. So we need to, let's say, amplify these effects to be recorded. So first is the conversion via Wheatstone bridges. That is a particular type of let's say circuit where the analog voltage is measured from the given input, right? So this may look little challenging for you to be, getting exposed to this kind of highly specified terms first of type. So my advice is you can refer these terms into the open sources and try to understand what it is. Second is amplification and filtering. We need to amplify the values by the voltage coming out of the bridge is often in the millivolts or range of too quiet, so full electric noise with the full of the electrical noise. So the instrumentation amplifier boosts these signals from millivolts to a higher volts, like volt itself, in the range of 0 to 5 volts. Sorry. Uh, then the low pass filter removes high frequency electrical noises to ensure only the physical strain data remains in the records. And finally, the digitalization. The amplified analog voltage is then sent to a analog to digital converter. This is very, very important mechanism for us. And this is the data collected, the hardware mentioned into the AIoT architecture also. Now this is a stage where the sensations or signals or changes, everything is gonna be, let's say, digitally converted data and to be recorded by the devices edges, right? So there are, of course, there are major advantages and limitations together for a sensor. Specifically, we are working on strain sensors. So these are the lists of the advantages and disadvantages, or we can say limitations. You better go through it by your own once when I'm going to share this presentation today in your e-contents. So please go through it. I'm not going into the word by word. However, for every strain gauge, there are positive and negative sides, and the negative sides are always possible to be eliminated or mitigated. So, overcoming the strain sensor limitations, these are 4 to 5 suggestions which you can keep in your focus when you are going to work with the actual sensors on the field or in the laboratory, right? So now the main point which I would like to highlight here is we have introduced some basic or simple hands-on, let's say, numerical practices which further will enhance your understanding how to work with all these technical terms. For example, let's take a very simple question like basic strain calculation. How do we carry out the basic step strain calculation? So the example is like a steel beam of the 2 meter length and elongates by 0.4 mm under the applied load. So that you can very well imagine, right? Now, what is the question? The question is calculate the strain in the beam. It's very simple, like delta L by L, you know all the equations, primary equations. So delta L is what? To be taken as 0.4, right? And the original length is 2 meter, that should be converted into the 2000 mm because already the displacement or deformation is in mm. So when you take a ratio, what you will be getting is the strain itself, right? So here it is demonstrated like 0.4 by 2000. Whatever the result comes is known as the strain, and you know that it is a unitless number. Second problem is also a simple in terms of calculations, and the equations are also associated here, so you can utilize them directly. It says that a strain gauge with a gauge factor, now you know what is a gauge factor, is bonded to a bridge girder. The measured strain is 600 micro strain because the strain values are very less, so it is expressed as micro strain here. What is the target? The target is to calculate the fractional change in the resistance, which means when any change in our case, any change that happens, whether it is in volume, length, area, or any forces or something, we can directly take a ratio of these two quantities changed to the original. Okay, so delta R upon R. So delta R is something that is already given to you indirectly, that is gauge factor, right? So 2.5, and strain is also given here, the micro strain. So that is 600 into 10 to the power minus 6. So when you use this relation delta R upon R, that can be re-expressed as the small k into epsilon. So when you multiply these two quantities, it will give you the required answer, right? Similarly, there are more couple of examples I have listed over here, and you can find similar examples in the open sources also. So my advice is to you, feel free and refer to all these type of possible examples, small numericals. I'm not expecting any derivations or high level coding or programming from you, but the advice is to be consistent with whatever we have left in the last class. This is the let us say supplementary lecture or supplementary clip that will help you to relate yourself with the upcoming class that is targeted on 21st, right? So we'll be meeting in our regular classes, and we'll go ahead from this point. By that time, you all are advised to refer to these small numerical practices and get acquainted with how to use basic terms in the calculations. So that was the purpose of this video, supplementary video. Thank you all, and best wishes.